Howdy, Beefalo Bart here, and thanks for joining me on this video. And this is a remake from a video from earlier where I had complete and utter mental breakdown. Well, not completely. I had to hit mute, and I forgot to change my hotkey to unmute, and I ended up recording the entire video with no audio whatsoever. So let's see if we have audio this time. Everything says yes, but I am getting nothing. Showing desktop audio is 0. And now we have audio. Alright, I do apologize for the technical difficulties from the last video and the start of this video. But for some reason it decided it was going to not just mute everything, but my microphone ended up on mute, and it changed the default for my desktop audio. So now let's get back to it, shall we? Alrighty then. This video here is a replacement for the Hey Dev video that I did earlier today, and got a couple topics that I want to cover, and hopefully they'll make sense and you'll agree that they're going to be pretty good ideas. And I just noticed that you can actually see a round on top of the magazine, considering that the Thompson is an open bolt weapon. That is a pretty cool thing. Okay, sorry, I'm gun nerding out. So with the upcoming patch 1.8, it brings in some features that are going to be awesome. And if you're not familiar with them, please take time to watch some other videos, ones that have audio, and you know, familiarize yourself with the fact that, let's take a look, just as a quick recap, we're going to be getting a new zone, or actually 2 zones. It's going to cover from here on the west side pier, and then somewhere along in here it's going to cut off and then extend over into this area right here. So you'll have 2 zones, but it's all considered to be the west side pier area. You're going to have a new cache system. You'll be able to get a west side pier cache. You're going to get a new mini base of operations, a new type of mission structure called dynamic missions, and you're also going to have dynamic spawn system for the NPCs in the area, so you're not going to be able to predict the usual spawn rate and location and so forth. Plus you're getting a new skirmish mode PvP 4 versus 4, which is going to take place primarily, one of the main ones that's been shown so far is right around the dock area by the Intrepid, which is the aircraft carrier, not battleship like some people have called it. I won't mention any names, but yeah, by the aircraft carrier. And you're going to have I think another one that'll be in this area right here, and one that's going to be underground. They're going to play different from each other, but essentially they're small, fast-paced maps with, yeah, lots of action. So with that in mind, keeping in mind also, you know, we have the underground, we have Last Stand, we have the usual DLCs. The first thing that I want to cover is with the upcoming new PvP, it's going to take its toll on the Last Stand, and survival's already taken a hit. I mean, I'm sorry, if you want to do survival, you're going to wait 30 minutes or more sometimes just to try to get a game, and that's just ridiculous. Nobody really wants to wait that long, so nobody ends up playing it, besides the fact that it's also DLC. You either had to pay for it separately like I did. I bought all the DLCs separately. I did not buy the season pass. So unless you have a season pass or you actually bought the DLC, you can't play survival, or you can't play lone. Yeah, you can't play any of those. You can't do underground, Last Stand, or the survival. They're all separate DLCs, and you either have to buy them separately, or you had to have bought a season pass. That takes its toll. Not as many people want to turn right around and pay extra money to play a game that they already paid for. So yeah, with that being said, as soon as we get a 4 versus 4 PvP, there's going to be even less people worried about getting DLC for a PvP mode. Last Stand is going to be a ghost town, just like Survival is now. So my proposition is for Ubisoft to, in Massive, just make those 2 DLCs free to everybody. You might as well. Nobody else is going to play them. They're not going to get any use, and they're just going to be a waste. So, yeah, that's just my idea. Just make those 2, at least those 2, free. What I feel robbed, since I actually paid good money for those DLCs, I didn't buy them whenever they were on sale either. So, yeah, I'll kind of feel ripped off in that regard, because I paid for something that I'm not being able to use. On the same note, though, I'm already paying for something that I can't use because it's harder to get games now. During the week, it's very difficult to find a match. And on the weekends, it's still kind of slow to try to get a match going. And good luck trying to get a survival mode going. It's actually pretty fun, but good luck with getting it. So, I'm going to drop off that topic because, okay, it's beating a dead horse. Alrighty then. Moving on back to the skirmish mode. Primarily right now, it's going to be classic team deathmatch. It's going to be 4 versus 4 in a small arena, and you're going to have a kill cap of 20 kills or a time limit of 10 minutes, and whichever comes first. You know, if you make your 20 kills, then your team wins. If timer runs out and neither team has made 20 kills, the team with the highest number of kills, well, okay, then they get the win. And you're going to have a point structure similar to the way Last Stand works, and yeah, I'm not going to go into all that, but my whole thing is, if you're going to have the classic deathmatch, then why not bring in some other classic modes like capture the flag? You know, have it to where on these small compact maps, and I've also mentioned a few more that I think would be awesome, some of the parks around the city, but why not plant a flag at one side and another one on the other side for each team, a red flag, blue flag, and then, or red and green, or red or whatever, you know. Then your team has to go across the map, grab their flag, and return it back to your base to be able to get a capture point. First team that gets 3 captures is the winning team. Fair enough. No kill limit. The other thing is, you know, World of Tanks and other games use a different style method of a flag. Your team goes across and captures a control point, so to speak, or a flag or control point. And if your team has got somebody in that control point for long enough, they end up getting the capture of that, and then there you go, the match is over with. And if, you know, the other team doesn't defend it, then it's game over. So yeah, we need more game modes to go on top of the current just team deathmatch. Moving on from there, I'm going to transition back to something I should have covered before I got into that, and it's things that need to be in the game also that are already in the game, but only NPCs can use them. The first of those is going to be melee. Currently, right now, you've got rushers that'll come in with a baseball bat, club you twice, and you're dead. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty stout with their melee attacks. Well, why not give us melee? Give us a fire axe. Give us a tactical tomahawk. Give us a combat knife. Give us some form of melee attack to where, if we want, we could actually go over and just perform that melee kill. You know, especially if you're in an area where you don't want the NPCs to actually hear you coming, and the sound of gunfire will actually cause them to turn and come at you. If you can sneak up and take out one of their guys with a tomahawk or an axe or a knife, then you won't alert the rest of the team. So, yeah. And I've talked to a number of other players, and whenever I ask them, well, what do you think needs to be in the game, or what do you think about melee, a lot of people that I've talked to, in fact, I haven't talked to anybody who said that it's a bad idea. So I think that we need to get that in the game quickly. The next item that the NPCs have that we don't get, grenade launcher. Okay, some people dismiss it sometimes as being a sticky bomb, But if you look closely, you catch them, the Grenadiers will actually have an M32 grenade launcher, which, if you're not familiar with the M32, it is a revolver-based, either 5 or 6 shot, I can't remember, grenade launcher. Yes, shame on me for not knowing a gun fact. I just haven't had my hands on one. I haven't used one in real life. Like the Thompson I'm holding right here in the game, I actually have used a real Thompson's. So if the NPCs can have it, and they can use it, and they can shoot it at us and kill us with it, we already know it's in the game. The code's there. It is there. Let us have it. That would be the quickest one to add into the game, is the M32, because the model's there, the animations are there, everything's there. They just need to assign it to allow us to be able to use it as a player. And since it's going to be a powerful weapon, it needs to have a limited ammo count. And I'm saying, okay, if it's a 5-round capacity on the cylinder, then a second reload of it and a total of 10 grenades. Or, you know, even if it's just 5 grenades, but I would say at least have enough for a second or for one reload, so you have a total of 10 rounds or 12 rounds depending on the capacity of the drum. And it's a 40 millimeter grenade. It's not going to be as strong as a conventional hand grenade. However, it's still going to be potent, and you'll still be able to arc it in on target, and there you go. Well, since we already have that in the game, why don't we also make it as part of a Underbarrel section? And I'm going to cover that a little bit more in just a second, but we have the M32. We also need an M79 style or a single shot type grenade launcher. Still be able to carry the same 10 rounds of ammunition, but it's a single shot. You fire and it has like a 3-second reload time. You know, that seems kind of realistic and good balance wise. 3-second reload, where you pop it open, you extract the empty shell, you put a new shell in, you close it, and you're able to aim again and fire. It's going to take at least 2 to 3 seconds. So I think that we need to look at that for a future patch of having the single shot types. And on top of that, and this goes along with the melee, and this goes along with the grenade launcher. And as you look, now the Thompson is going to be an exception to this rule. It does not have an underbarrel attachment. It only comes with a magazine attachment. So it's going to be an exception to the rule. But if you look at something like the lightweight M4, which is the current thing that everybody has to have right now because it's awesome. Well, if you equip an underbarreled of like this, a hand stop or vertical grip or angled grip or whatever, they're going to go in this location here. However, if you attach one of the lasers, they're going to be attached up here on the side. Actually, I think right here. Well, if you know anything about the animation portion of creating video games, you have what's called a socket. And this is a socket, this is a socket, the magazine area is a socket, the optics area is a socket. You've got all these different sockets on the gun, so whenever you change to a high capacity magazine, you get a different model there. You change your grip style, you have a different model that spawns into that location. Same thing with here. So what I'm proposing is, if you get an underbarrel grenade launcher like the M203 or the HK, I think it's M69. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong on that one. I've never used one. That's why I don't know as much about it. I put countless rounds to an M203 grenade launcher. So it would use this same location right here and fit underbarrel underneath any long gun that has an underbarrel attaching point to it. Simple thing. You're going to have to create a couple of animations to make it work, but it's not going to be that bad of a thing to do. That brings us also to melee. Since we don't currently have a melee system for players, why not let us use a bayonet? And hell, even the M14 or the M21, it's an M14 system. It actually has a bayonet lug right here. So yes, there's a silencer on here. This is a silencer code Omega that it's represented on it, but it would still, a real bayonet for an M14 would extend to about right here normally. But what I'm suggesting is for either an underbarrel attachment or a muzzle attachment, using the existing attachment locations or creating a new location. I would say if you use it as a muzzle, then in this case, then what will happen is it will physically appear here, but you would not be able to use a suppressor with a bayonet. However, for those who do know, there is actually such a thing as a pistol bayonet. And for in the game, any pistol that has an underbarrel location, the one I've got equipped right here, the Centurion, it does not. But in this case right here, you would have an underbarrel attachment. So this would be a small or a pistol bayonet, and it would only work on pistols that had an underbarrel location. And again, suppressor would kind of nullify that. So it would have to, you would have to code it to where it would detect, yes, you have a suppressor attached, then no, you're not able to use a bayonet. So yeah, there's ways of doing it to make it work. So grenade launchers and bayonets would work as an underbarrel location and give us a melee attack for, and a grenade launcher attack for, just changing up the game a little bit. Alright, I'm going to move on to the next part here. Ooh. Garbage. Anyway. So, to the next point here. Sorry, I'm looking over my notes. After I did the last video, I went ahead and crumbled up my notes and threw it away. So it's kind of crinkled up, and it was in the garbage can. And it got wet, and Lord only knows what soaked into it. Alright, I'm going to cover the Dark Zone. This is kind of a off-the-wall topic here that some people may love it, some people may hate it, but since we're going to have this new skirmish mode, it is going to decrease the population of the Dark Zone, because it's going to be a free new thing and people are going to want to jump in there and do it. And I'm all for it. I'm going to end up playing skirmish mode probably a good bit. So I think it's going to be awesome, but I'm also thinking and hoping that it's going to take some focus away from the Dark Zone. I don't do much in the way of PvP, and specifically I don't like the Dark Zone because I don't like unorganized PvP. Yeah, I'm old, I'm grumpy, shut up. By having unorganized PvP, it means if I go out here and I come to this checkpoint over here in DZ2 and I start heading over here to try to farm some division tech, I'm always having to look over my shoulder, and not just for NPCs, but for that asshole character who gets their jollies fucking with people that has no business just bothering people. They go to the Dark Zone specifically to grief other players. I don't get into it. Not my thing. I'm not one of those assholes. I'm an asshole for a bunch of different reasons, but that's not one of them. So, here's what I'm proposing for the Dark Zone. Like it or leave it. This is my thoughts. So, take away PvP completely from the Dark Zone. No player versus player combat whatsoever. You already have this huge walled off area from the rest of the map that currently has checkpoints where you can enter all over the place. However, what I'm proposing is all these other checkpoints will no longer be checkpoints for you to enter or exit from the Dark Zone. The only way to get in would be these three in Dark Zone 1. You could come in or out from those, and those only. You'll no longer have a need for an extraction area. They can stay or go. I haven't really put much thought into those just yet. But all the other checkpoints along the way, you'll no longer be able to enter or exit the Dark Zone from them. And the only way to get out is to go to a safe house or to one of these checkpoints and use it to teleport either back to checkpoint 1 or somewhere else on the map outside of the Dark Zone. You won't be able to hop back and forth between, and you won't be able to hop from here to here. Okay, bear with me on that. There is a reason for it. Now, what I'm also proposing is that since right here you only have these two roads that connect through here, and yes, I know there's some alleyways and stuff like that. It looks like there's a grayed out area where you could actually go from 33rd Street over here to 34th, I think it says. Well, these would be blocked off. These roads would be blocked off with a gate. But the only way to get from DZ1 to DZ2 is to go through these two gates. Now, the only way you can get those gates to open up is certain number of global events have to take place. All three bosses must, the named bosses that are holding in certain buildings or locations or whatever, they have to be killed in order for a key to be obtained, so these two gates can be opened up so that anybody that's in DZ1 can progress into DZ2. This would actually be a global event that takes place and resets whenever it's completed. So there is no only happens once a month, only happens once a week. No, this is an ongoing thing that the only way that it can reset is if some team or somebody has made it all the way to the end of DZ9 and all of the bosses or whatever have been taken out and DZ has been neutralized, so to speak. So with that regard, that's the only way that once those are all the objectives are done in DZ9, then it all resets, everybody's kicked out, and it refreshes. So like I said, if there's 3 named bosses that you have to kill, and one of them at random drops the yellow key, and then once you pick up the yellow key, you're able to go and unlock this gate right here. And then once you unlock this gate, or once you unlock this gate, the other one will get unlocked. So now DZ1 is clear, DZ2 is open. Now, like I said, this is a global thing. So now that there's already 4, 5, 6 groups. As you know, if you go to Dark Zone, we'll say DZ1, there's currently a population limit of X number of players. And if you try to go in to find your buddies and you look all around, they're no longer there. Well, they're in a different world, in a different server or whatever. So you may not always get into the same one as they are. So you're going to have to coordinate on that effort. And what I'm proposing also is no gear score requirements for the Dark Zone. There's no PvP, no player versus player damage whatsoever. Not from grenades, explosions, nothing. It's all cooperative. So even though we'll say Dark Zone 4, DZ4 is where the current set of missions are, and you've got all kind of people trying to kill the named bosses so they can get the key so they can move to DZ5. Whenever you want to join the Dark Zone, you start here. And now the gates will be open once somebody else has unlocked these 2 gates. You'll just be able to walk up the road. There may be residual spawns left over. You may have to fight your way to get up to there. But each zone will have progressively harder and harder and harder and harder creatures or mobs or NPCs or whatever. DZ01 would start off with level 30 reds with 3 named elites just for the sake of. Same thing for this. You might have an occasional purple, but then you're going to have your bosses you're going to have to kill to get the keys to unlock these 3 gates. The only spots, like I said, where okay, well I can come through this alleyway right here and then come out by this safe room, and no, these will be blocked. However, these right here could be open, so that doesn't matter. The only one, what I'm saying is the line that separates DZ1 from 2 is where the only way to get through is to go through these 2 checkpoints, and they have to be unlocked. So, said if everything is taking place in DZ5, you start down here and you run your way up, and you fight your way up to get to the combat. Now, all the safe rooms will still be there. I think that once the safe room is... now, if you notice, you got DZ 1, 2, 3. They all have at least one good safe room per, or at least have one. I don't see one, but there should be one over here. But there's one safe room per dark zone. There isn't one in 7, but there is one in 8. So, I mean, that's fine. We'll leave it like that. But I would say that if you want to get to DZ 6 to catch up with everybody else, I would say it should be okay to come in here, and then once you're into the checkpoint, you can teleport directly to DZ 5 so that you can join everybody else trying to finish off 5 so they can move into 6. Make sense? I hope so. That's just my thoughts on it. Yeah, a lot of people might like that idea. A lot of people might hate that idea. But to make it more interesting, I would say every day, every 24 hours, whenever they do the server reset at it's 8 p.m. EST, or 7 o'clock in the morning, usually preferably like in the morning time. But at a certain time throughout the day, the server reset time should start a new modifier for the Dark Zone, for this new cooperative Dark Zone. Headshot modifier, the assault modifier, the the same one from the other global event where if you get too close to the NPCs, then you get infected and you take a lot of damage. So maybe change up the modifiers every day. That way, you know, you're able to have something new going on. Or hell, I mean, even make it to where in this area right here, if your team captures a certain point that's really, really difficult to capture, then you unlock a modifier. You get the close proximity assault modifier or whatever. But, you know, just in general, that's another thought for this, is the Dark Zone having modifiers to make life a little bit more interesting. By the time you get to Dark Zone 9, it should be equivalent to a 40-man raid on World of Warcraft, where you need a lot of people working really good to try to get it knocked out. And if you're there at the end of the DZ9, whenever it finishes out, anybody in that zone should be able to get an extra cache or whatever. The Dark Zone has its own Dark Zone caches. It has its own Dark Zone currency. You've already got things going for it for that area only. The only thing you're really modifying is you're taking away the player versus player, and you're creating some blockades to separate the different Dark Zones. Excuse me. And you make it to where you have to unlock the gates to get into the next Dark Zone. It's going to take a little fiddling, but this is not something that's going to take a year to be developed. If they actually put some effort into it, then we're talking about a week to get the basics in place for this, and then, you know, within a month's time, it should be ready to go on to a PTS. Alright, so I'm going to conclude, and just to recap everything that was covered in this video, was adding in melee weapons, and that's to include a bayonet system as well, for pistols and for long guns. Adding in grenade launchers as an underbarrel or as a standalone weapon. More types of modes for the skirmish mode, coming up with the different, because it shouldn't just be skirmish or last stand. Just encompass the last stand and skirmish modes under a new PvP curriculum or section or whatever. And skirmish can be skirmish, and then capture the flag, last stand, all will be separate modes of the PvP. And moves into completely changing the Dark Zone over from general douchebaggery to a cooperative PvP raid zone with its own set of mission rewards and DZ rewards and currencies and caches and so forth. Adding in potential global modifiers for while you're in the Dark Zone. Yep. And that should cover it. Point to ponder on the melee weapons. Would you pay for DLC if you had melee? Would you pay for a DLC for a set of ninja style clothing and a ninja sword, a small dagger, ninja style dagger, and then you can still use whatever weapons you want to use and whatever gear you want to use, but cosmetics for a full ninja gear set, clothing wise, and ninja style melee weapons like a sword and a dagger? Would you pay for that? And if so, how much would you pay for that? I would pay for it. I damn sure would pay for it. So please make sure you leave some comments on this. I think these are some pretty valid points, and if you listen to me all the way through, then bless you, you're a good person. But definitely leave me comments. Leaving comments helps me to get more views. So does leaving a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Yes, even a thumbs down will help me to get more views. Preferably thumbs up. I like those. And definitely subscribers. I need more subscribers. Definitely need more subscribers. Once I get over 1,000 subscribers, things will start getting a whole lot easier. I'll be able to start doing a whole lot more, and the channel will grow exponentially once I get past that point. So, again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.